welcome to my channel. My name is Kelly Dale with offthebeadedpath beadstore.com. I'm so glad you joined me today because we are going to be doing a retro redo from a pattern and video that I did back in September of 2011. So this project is for the beaded pumpkin earrings. So we're going into that fall season very soon, and this is going to be a quick and simple project to start off that season wearing some festive jewelry. So in 2011, when I watched this video again, I was like, oh my gosh, bless your heart, Kelly. It was terrible. Just like the witch hat earring, it was terrible. So today we're going to get a redo of that video, and I wrote a pattern for that. In 2011, I don't even think I wrote a pattern. It's not on the website. I've not been able to find it. So I wrote an 8-page step-by-step pattern for this project as well. So if you need step-by-step instructions, if you look below in that video description box, I will have a direct link to it on my website, but you can find it under step-by-step tutorials at offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com. I also have 2 color kits available for this project while supplies last. I have the opaque orange, which is a solid orange round bead, or I have the transparent orange. And as you can see, they're so cute. They're not very long, just such a great project that I know you're gonna love. So for the project today, you need 1 gram of a size 11 Delica bead. You can use a regular round bead. It just turns out wonky. So a regular 11 Delica works best. You're also going to need just a few size 15 seed beads. You are going to need 2 4mm bicones that will match the Delicas and the 15s that you're going to use. I'm using all greens because it's the top of a pumpkin. You're going to need 2 12mm rounds. Now, I have these available again on my website. This is a 12mm transparent orange, and then I have a 12mm opaque orange. I sell those in little packages of 6 on the website. So you're going to need those. You are going to need ear wires, 2 head pins, and then 1 yard of your favorite thread. It does not matter which thread you use. You will need a size 12 needle, and then this right here, this is a tulip awl. This comes in really handy. Now, it doesn't come beaded like this, of course. This is a pattern, and again, I will link it below in that description box, but this will just come in handy with you. Now, here's the thing that you need to know for the video. I am going to be using larger beads because this is a little teeny tiny thing to hold on to, and it's going to be hard to see it in the video. So just for demonstration purposes only, I'm going to be using size 8 Delica beads and a size 11 seed bead. But 11 Delica and size 15 seed bead is definitely what you're going to need for the project. So let's go ahead and get started. 1 yard of your thread will do both of the toppers for your piece. So the first thing I do is I go ahead and I lay out 6 of my size 11 Delica beads. This is going to be the initial top ring of the piece that we're going to make. So we start out with a ladder stitch. So I'm going to pick up 2 of my Delica beads. I'm going to bring these down, and I'm only going to leave enough tail thread that I can actually hold on to here with my hand. And then I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to come back up through just the first bead again. Not the whole stack, just the first bead. So that when I pull that, my 2 beads should now sit side by side. My working thread will be coming out of one of the beads, and my tail thread will be coming out of the same bead, opposite directions. So I take the needle and come down through the second bead. That is the one right next to where my thread is coming out. And you'll want to put your fingers here and hold those in place as you pull. We're going to thread on 1 Delica. Our needle or our working thread is coming out of this bottom part of the bead. I want to make a circle. So I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to come right back down through the same bead again to make a circle with the thread. And when you do that, your new bead should sit right next to the bead that you went through. So my needle again is coming out of the bottom or my working thread here, and I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to come right up through the bead right next to where the thread is exiting. Thread on one Delica. My thread is coming out of the top of the Delica. I want to make a circle, so I got to take my needle and come up through the same bead. One Delica, nope, starting to jump ahead. Thread is coming out here, so I have to take the needle and come down through the bead that I just added. This gets me into position to add that next Delica. Thread on the Delica. Thread is coming out of the bottom of the bead, so I come around to make the circle, and I come right back down through the bead again. And then pass up through the bead I just added. I'm going to do that one last time. So one bead, my thread is coming out of the top here, so I'm going to make a circle. So I come right back up through the same bead again. And then I come down through the last bead, which is the 6th bead here. So now if I hold it like this, you can see my 6 beads in the line. So I'm going to fold the piece together so that the first bead and the last bead are side by side. This is my short excess tail thread. This is my working thread here on the right. So the thread is exiting the bottom of that bead. So I'm going to go up through the first bead, which again has my tail thread. I go up through that bead. And then I take the needle and I come down through the bead again, so that now all 6 of the beads are connected. I'm going to take my little short tail thread and my working thread, and I'm going to tie these 2 threads together. Now, before I go any further, what I like to do is I like to go ahead, thread the needle onto that short excess tail thread, and then I will pass through a few beads in an up and down motion to go ahead and get rid of this tail thread so I don't have to worry about it. And then I will snip off that little thread. Now this is where, especially if you're using the 11s, this is where the awl comes in really handy, because you can put your beadwork onto that awl. When you're using the 11s, it's only going to come down about midways, but it helps to circle it back out for you, so it's a little bit easier to work with. So I'm going to take the working thread and I'm going to come up through one of the beads here next to the knot. Because my knot is right here, I can either come up through the bead on the right or the left, it does not matter. So I come through that bead so that now I have a circle of beads just like this. Now comes phase 2 of the pumpkin top. We're going to do a herringbone stitch. So we pick up 2 of our Delicas, and we take the needle and we come down through the very next Delica. Now again, when I come out of this bead, it does not matter if I start working to the right or to the left, but whatever direction I start in, I have to continue in that direction. So I pick up those 2 beads and I come down through the next bead, and those 2 beads sit on top of the 2 beads already in place, and they are going to sit wonky. That's exactly what we want. That is herringbone. Now you'll take your needle and come up through the next bead in my original circle of 6. Thread on 2 Delicas and come down through the very next bead. So now you have 2 rows of herringbone there. And then you'll notice we still have 2 beads left in our circle. So I come up through the next bead. I put on 2 of the Delicas and come down through that last bead in the row. So that now, honestly, it's going to look like a hot mess, but it helps, again, if you will put it onto your awl, especially if you're using the small, and then you really can see your pattern a lot better. So you see there, I have my base ring of 6, and then I have 6 beads along the top where I've done the herringbone stitch. Now we need to step up to get ready for the next row. So to do that, I'm going to take the needle. This is where my thread is exiting. I'm going to take it and go up through the bead in my original circle of 6 and then up through the first bead that I threaded on in this round. That is a step up. So at the end of every row, we're going to be coming up through 2 beads. So now I'm going to pick up 2 Delicas, but this time, instead of going down through the whole stack, like I'm showing here, we only go through that top bead of the next stack. So I just come straight down through that bead, so that when I do that, now they're stacked like this. And I take the needle and I come up through the next bead on the row. So I'm not working with this bottom row, only with the top row here. Whoops, nope, back up. I told you wrong there. So we put our beads on there, but now we have to do an increase. We have to do an increase. So I pick up 1 Delica and I take the needle and then I come up through that bead right there. Okay, so when you do that, that bead is going to stick out. It's going to look funny, but it's exactly where it should be, okay, because we're working an increase. This is going to widen the piece out a little bit. We pick up 2 of our Delicas and we come down through the very next Delica. So remember, we're not going down through the whole stack, just the second bead there. And you might have to make them stack on top of each other, just like I'm showing here. Okay, and then we're ready for another increase. So I pick up 111 and I come through the next bead in the round. And when I pull it, again, it's going to stick out. That's okay. It's making our thing stick out, and that's exactly what we want. So now 2 Delicas, and again, I come through that last bead on the row. But this time, you'll notice here, I've got 1 increase, 2 increase. Now I need to pick up another bead to finish out the increase on the row. So again, instead of just coming up through the next bead in the row, this is the step up. This is where I have to come through 2 beads here. So I'm going through 1 and 2. This puts 3 increase stitches in. At this point, it's going to look more like a funky elongated triangle. And you have to remember too, my beads are going to sit a little funky because I'm not using the right size. I'm using an 8. But so you can see this. So you'll see there, it's an elongated triangle is what we have. Now another round, but we're going to modify the round. We're going to put another increase. So I'm going to do 2 11s. I'm going to come down through the very next bead. Not the whole stack, just the top bead. And this time, I'm going to grab 2 of my 15s, and I'm going to come up through the top bead of the next stack. And when you do that, you'll want to give it a little pull, and they're going to pull together. Thread on 2 11s, take your needle, and come down through the very next bead. We got to do that increase, so I pick up 2 of my 15s and I come through this top bead of that next stack. So you can kind of see here what it's doing. It's starting to pull these stacks up a little more. 2 of my 11 Delicas and come down through the very next stack of beads. And then we're working on our final increase for the row. So I pick up 2 of my 15s, but this time when I pick those up, I've got to go through the top 2 beads of the stack because this is the last bead, and then I step up through the very first bead of the row. So that when you pull this, you still have a triangle, but it's more together. Okay. Now, we're going to do one last row, but again, we've got to modify. So I pick up 2 Delicas, and this time I have to go down through 2 Delicas. So I'm not going through just the top one. I'm going through the top one and the next one. Pass through the 2 15s of your increase, and then through the 2 beads of the next stack. So it's the 2 beads right there at your increase. We pick up 2 of our Delicas, and we come down through the very next bead in the stack and the bead right under it. So through 2 beads. You'll see your thread is coming out right at the increase. So we go through our 2 15s. And then up through 2 Delicas of our next stack. Now it's 2 Delicas, and we come down through 1 bead and then the next bead. So 2 beads in our stack. Through our 2 15s that are our increase. And then this is our step up. So for our step up, we have to actually come, instead of through the top 2, we're going to go through 1, 2, 3. So we're going to go through 3 beads here in the stack. So that now you'll notice that we have our original circle of 6, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 things of herringbone. We've got 1 increase with an 11 and then 2 15s. So again, yours is going to look much better. Mine's using much larger beads. Now I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to come all the way down through the next stack of beads. So when I say all the way, I'm going through all 4 of my herringbones and then coming out of the very top here. Now this is where we're going to add some embellishments. And when we add these embellishments, it's going to look like a hot mess. But it's going to be perfect because it's going to look so great on our ear wire. So when you come out of this top bead, you're going to pick up 3 of your Delicas. And you're going to take your needle and you're going to come right back through that same bead to make a circle. So what it's going to do is it's going to put you 3 Delicas that are going to kind of stick out like a picot at that bead. Now at this point, again, it doesn't matter if I go to the left or to the right, but I'm going to come down through the next bead only in that ring of 6. Thread on 3 of my Delicas, and I'm going to come back around to make a circle. So now I have 2 embellishments. And then I'm going to come up through the next bead of my ring of 6. So I'm going to continue to do this, just picking up 3 Delicas and going back around through each of those Delicas to make a circle until I have 6 beads with these embellishments on them. So that when you get done, you will have your completed topper piece. Now I'm going to go ahead really quickly and pop these in. The thing I like about this part is by this time, what did I do here? 1, 2, look at that. I put 2, because of these big beads, I put 2 beads in that same stitch right there. Oh well, it's okay. I'm just trying to get through this so y'all can see. So the great thing is by this time, you've got something to hold on to because the legs are a little bit longer, so it's a lot nicer. You've got something to look at there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need 1 more. So again, it's going to be a lot of beads here at the top, but you need that. So when I go back through that last bead, I go all the way down through that last stack of beads. So again, it's going to look weird because again, I'm using huge beads, but you'll see in just a minute. Now we're ready to tie this off. So I come all the way to the end of a stack. I put me a little 1/2 inch knot in there. And then I pass through the beads to get to the next stack. I'm going to pop a little 1/2 inch knot here. And then I'll take my needle, pass it through a few beads, and trim this off. So that now, let me show you what you'll have using the smaller beads. So when you finish and you've got your little tiny beads, this is only how big it is. It's a little tiny piece. So what we do is we take our head pin, thread on your 12mm round, and then you're going to thread the topper onto the pumpkin. And we want the herringbone pieces to lay against the pumpkin. Then you take your 4mm bicone, press it in there, and now look at it. It's a perfect little topper. I love it. So you make a wrapped loop. If you're unsure how to make a wrapped loop, if you look in that video description box, I did a great video in 2020. It's called Back to Bead School, and it has all about how to make a wrapped loop, how to make a plain loop. But I basically am making a wrapped loop. Then I'm going to attach that to my ear wire. And when I close that ear wire, I am left with a super cute pair of earrings. So again, 1 yard will do both of your toppers. A lot of fun. These will be really quick. In 2011 when I made these, oh my gosh, I made these for every person that I knew. I absolutely loved these, and I hope you do too. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this fun project using these cute little 12mm round beads to make pumpkins. Again, I do have the step-by-step pattern available and 2 of the color kits on my website at offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com, or just look right below in that video description link box for all of those links. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day, a great week, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.